God cannot do anything which violates his essential nature. Some have asked, why is it greater to be good rather than evil? How do we know God isn't evil and unrighteous? How do we know righteousness and fairness is a greater quality than non righteousness? Also, some have suggested that greatness is subjective, meaning one person's idea of what greatness is may vary from the next. Let's discuss. Firstly, the definition of greatest conceivable being is not subjective, rather, it's essential. Properties of greatness, for example, are objectively true and exist independently of anyone's beliefs or opinions, as they are a necessary part of God's essential nature. Next, we must remember that evil is not a thing. Evil is simply the absence of good or the deviation of God's righteous standard. As for good and evil being subjective, let me remind you that something like grape, for example, is objectively evil. It is not subjective. This is true for all universal absolutes. You didn't need to read it in a book that grape was wrong, and no one ever needed to teach it to you. You just knew it in your heart. That's because God places objective moral values and duties on all of our hearts. Someone who would argue that grape, for example, is greater than non-grape clearly has never been a victim of this horrific violation or never felt its effects. You can continue right on down the line from lying versus honesty, slavery versus non-slavery, being fair versus being unjust, the Holocaust versus no Holocaust, etc., etc. So let's talk about good versus evil. Evil can trick you. Evil focuses on negativity. It generates terror and despair. It leads to depression, sadness, anger, and hate. It's food for the ego. Evil appears to be simple, yet always ends up creating countless complications and endless problems. Evil is empty. It hides in the shadows because it's embarrassed and ashamed. It doesn't build up, but tears down. Evil is revenge and madness. Evil is false, illogical, immoral, unfair, disgusting, violent, cruel, absurd, vengeful, dishonest, stupid, and brute. It goes against what is real and is true inside your spirit. Evil destroys, mocks, lies, tricks, envies, and hurts. It is a jealousy and anger. Evil is more than terrible. Goodness, on the other hand, is righteous. It is truth. It lends a helping hand. It supports and lifts up. It is altruism, generosity, sincerity, honesty, morality, integrity, persistence, tolerance, and patience. Goodness is humanity. Goodness focuses on positivity. Goodness is necessary for evolution of the spirit. Goodness is love and kindness. It does not seek to satisfy the ego. It seeks to help and solve problems. Goodness takes a time to transform the world in a positive way. It can appear to be complicated and difficult at times, but from goodness comes a genuine fulfillment. Goodness is just and fair. Goodness is always a great relief. Goodness is the light. Goodness gives us hope. These are just some of the reasons good is greater than evil, and therefore why greatest in the acronym GCB refers to goodness and not evil. Another thing we must note about God is that he never does anything for no reason or that which is unnecessary. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask.